I believe everyone has a story to tell. And I believe everyone deserves a little pampering. Welcome to Mannies with Grannies. I'm your host, Tiffany Marino. Join me while I sit down with a woman over 70 and get to know her while giving her a manicure. Welcome to this episode of Mannies with Grannies. Today I'm in the beautiful town of Russell at the home of Mollie. I met Mollie through her daughter who reached out to us through our website. Mollie, thanks so much for having me in your home today.
Oh, you're welcome.
I got to talk to your daughter, Jeanette, a little bit about you, and she filled me in on a club or group that you're a part of called the 4 Ls. Fill me in on that.
It was really my sister's group. They're all 6 years younger than I am, and they wanted me to join their group. I gratefully did. Did Joyce tell you how we got our name?
No.
When they first started to meet, they met late at night because they had babies and they put them to bed. So they didn't get together till about 10 o'clock. So when they got home, it was midnight and after. They wanted a name for their club. And so when my sister come home this one night, she said to my brother-in-law, she says, we need a name for our group. And he, of course, was tired and he rolled over. He says, I think you should call it the Linger Longer Ladies League, the 4 Ls.
Say it again. It's like a tongue twister.
Linger Longer Ladies League.
Linger Longer Ladies League. Well, that's just fun even saying it.
Yeah, 4 Ls. So it's been the 4 Ls ever since.
How many women are in your group?
Now we're down to 6. There's not very many of us left.
How many were there when there was the most?
Probably 12, 15.
So you'd get together once a week at someone's home?
Once a month.
Or once a month. What did that time mean to you?
I didn't meet with them when they were younger. I didn't meet with them until later years, but it was a getaway for them to enjoy their friends and get away from the domestic part of their life. It was a very fun club.
I know I have a hard time making plans to get together with my friends. You know, we talk about it and then sometimes it doesn't happen or it takes a long time to happen. How did you all keep up on the monthly visits?
We all, at the time of our meeting, the next one would offer to have it at their house. So we just kept having it. Now there's only about 4 of us or 5 of us left. And so we usually get together at a restaurant and have lunch together. If it's a birthday, we celebrate birthdays.
That's really nice. What is your age?
I'm 93. I was born in the Depression, 1930.
Where were you born?
I was born, in fact, just a couple houses from here. I didn't leave much of my stomping ground, I guess. My father worked for the farmer next door over here. When I was born, my aunt was a nurse, and she came, and finally Dr. Vermillion from Russell come to deliver me.
You were born in your home?
Yeah.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
That happened later in life. I was 6 years, and in those 6 years, we moved around to different farms. My father worked for farmers. It was the only job he could find. So we ended up on Miller Hill outside of Lander, Pennsylvania. And my sister was born in 1936. That was the year that I had to start school. And I didn't want to go to school because I had a baby sister. They had a terrible time getting me on the bus. And finally, they took me to my grandparents, and they thought they would be able to get me on the bus. No way. And what's kind of funny about it, I finally did go to Lander School, and my husband-to-be was there, and of course he teased me afterwards. He said, I was never so glad to get rid of that bawling child in our class, and come to find out it was you. But in 1936, we moved to the Venman, which is my maiden name, homestead. It's on the old State Line Road, which is just a road over from my road. And I lived there ever since.
Was your father's family all living there?
Just my grandfather was. My grandmother had died when I was 4 years old. So it was just my grandfather. My uncle was taking care of my grandfather at that time, and he wanted to go to college, so he asked my father if he'd move home on the homestead and take care of Grandpa so he could go to college.
Did they have a farm on the homestead?
Yeah.
Did you work on the farm?
Oh, yes. Had to go get the cows. We've done a lot of taking care of the milk. We pasteurized, or not pasteurized it, but we run it through and we made cottage cheese and butter. And it was a typical farm.
You mentioned that your husband and you went to school together.
For just the first year. And I wasn't there long. And he said he was never so glad to get that crying kid out of the class. And here it was me.
How did the two of you re-meet?
I don't know. Our family's been friends for a long time. And when I was in school, the Lander boys would come to Russell at noon. So when we heard that Lander was in Russell, the girls all went to the soda shop that was there, Louie's. And then it just progressed from there on in, I guess.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, but there was only 12 in my class, and I was the valedictorian. But when I say I was a valedictorian of my graduating class, when they ask me how many were there and I say 12, that doesn't sound like a very good thing. But
Did you give a graduation speech?
Yes.
Do you remember it at all?
No. No.
Do you remember how you felt at that time in your life?
No, not really. I guess I was glad to complete high school, but that was the end of it for Russell. There was no more high school after we got done.
You were the last graduating class?
Yes.
You were the valedictorian of the last graduating class there.
Yes.
That's something.
Yeah. But when you say, there was only 12, then that's not quite such a good feat, you know? I mean, he went to Lander and I went to Russell. His folks wouldn't let him get married until he was 21. We went together 5 years before we could get married. And the day he was 21, we went to Lander to the doctor and got our blood tests. And at the same time, his dad was getting chickens, so we brought home 250 baby chicks.
What was your wedding day like?
My wedding day was very simple. The minister came to the house. We stood in front of the kitchen stove in the kitchen, and my aunts and uncles were in the living room. I guess there were some flowers in there, but it was very simple. We just went in the living room. The preacher said what he had to say, and we said to say what we had to say. That was it. And we had a nice cake, and there was just aunts and uncles there and not very many cousins.
Was that your family home?
Yes.
So was that the same house where you were born?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, you had moved. That's
I had
right.
moved.
In 1936. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. My father-in-law never had a new car at all until we got married in 1951. And he let us take his 1951 Chevy to go on our honeymoon. And we went to Niagara Falls, naturally. And he was on reserve to be home to milk the cows and stuff. We shouldn't have left, but we did go to Niagara Falls for just the weekend and then came home.
Did he have to ask anyone to cover his duties at the farm?
No.
They just went undone?
We just went. We got back without nobody from that mattered. So we were all right. Then he got called to service. So he served overseas. He was in Germany, and he was there for 2 years. And I wanted to go over, but it was a new camp, and it didn't have good facilities. So he said, no, I better stay home.
What was that like for you?
Lonesome. When he came back after a year and a half, he almost seemed like I didn't know him. It was strange at first.
How did you get through that time?
It was very hard. I worked for Loblaws in Jamestown. I had a car, so I lived in my car, and my mother wanted me at her place all the time to stay overnight, and my mother-in-law wanted me too. So I had to take my time between the two of them, but they were both very determined that I stay with them. It was kind of hard for me. And during that time, I took my grandparents to Florida, and my husband was upset because I left my job. We had started to build a house, and it was boarded up and left when he went to the service, and so he wanted me to keep on with my job. My mother finally wrote to him and told him that my nerves were bad and it just done me good to take my grandparents to Florida, that I missed him so much, and it just gave me a different outlook on life. So it finally so it was all right, but, there was quite a few weeks when I never heard from him because he was upset with me because I left my good job at Loblaws.
Wow.
I was head checker and I was making good money, but I was very good friends with the superintendent. And when I come back, I told him what I'd done. And he said, well, you were a very good worker. He said, we'll find a place for you in the system. So he gave me back my job. I cut cheese for a couple of months. And then all of a sudden I was head checker again, making more money than I did when I left.
What was your husband's name?
Arden.
Were you able to then tell Arden that it was resolved?
Yeah, Artie.
Did he feel better?
Yeah.
That must have been hard to board up the house in the middle of building.
Yes, it was.
How did that feel?
It was a sad time when he had to go.
Did the house end up getting built?
Yes, that's where Jeanette lives now. Yeah.
How many kids do you have?
Just Jeanette. We waited 20 years for her. And in the meantime, we've done an awful lot of things. We wanted a child so bad, but we thought we were never going to get her. But you should have seen the frills and stuff that were on our mailbox when she was born. The whole town of Lander came out, I think.
Tell me how you felt when you found out you were pregnant.
I couldn't make people believe it. Not even my doctor. My doctor couldn't believe. It was Dr. Erickson. And Dr. Erickson stopped practicing after Jeanette was born because I had to have her cesarean because I was 40 years old and older, and he thought that was the best way. When he took her cesarean, he cut her right by her hairline here, so he said he was going to give up practicing. That was the end. I'm too old, he said. But she was all right. I mean, it wasn't that deep.
Would you like to pick out a nail polish color?
Yeah, I don't like too dark. What do you suggest, that one?
This is really pretty.
I've had a good life.
How did you pick out the name Jeanette?
We were going through a town down in Pennsylvania, and there were 2 ends in Jeanette in that town, but we only wanted one end, but that's where we got the name. And we had that picked out before we even knew we were going to, we anticipated that we were going to have children. And so when we were on a trip for our anniversary, I already said, if we ever have a girl, let's name her Jeanette. So we named her Jeanette, but we left the one N out.
Was your husband the first person you told you were pregnant?
Yes, he was excited. He said, are you sure you're going to be all right? I said, sure. I said, why would God do anything to prevent me from having this once he made sure I was pregnant? Wonderful, wonderful time. The neighbors, when I came home from the hospital, there were things on the mailbox and ribbons all over everywhere.
So exciting.
The whole town was excited for us.
Jeanette mentioned that you had 2 loves of your life because her father passed away.
Yes. I knew he had a bad heart. He had an enlarged heart. I knew that he wasn't well. And I knew things weren't just exactly right. He was hunting, and he asked me to go help him pull his deer out, and that struck me as strange that he would do that. And so I did. I went and helped him get his deer out, and he took care of that deer that night. He called me from camp, and he said, I really feel good. And I said, oh, that's great. And then I said something about, are you coming home from dinner? And then all of a sudden, I heard him fall. And I said, sounds like you're in trouble, dear. I'll be right there. And so I jumped in the car, and I was going by the fire hall to get there, and all the firemen were all coming back from a grass fire. And I said, guys, come with me. I said, there's something wrong with Artie at camp. I said, I think he's passed out or something. So they all came right after me and was there with me, and he died from a heart attack laid on the floor in the camp. That was a very sad time for all of us.
What helped you get through that time?
The Lord and Jeanette. Jeanette and I had quite a time. In fact, he was always one that wanted to go out and get a Christmas tree because he had planted trees. So he wanted to get one in the woods by himself, So Jeanette and I thought we can get one like Dad did, So we went to a tree farm and we thought they'd cut it for us and take care of it and bring it out for us, No, it was one where you go and cut your own tree. So Jeanette cut the tree, but it was too big of a tree, and she hauled it as far as she could haul, and then she cut probably another foot off and hauled it a little bit farther and cut a little bit more off. And anyway, we decided that from there on we'd have an artificial tree after that year. Oh, it was fun watching her grow up.
I understand after she graduated college, she moved back in with you?
Yes.
Tell me what that meant to you.
It meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me.
But your love story does not end there.
No. A few years later, I was at a beauty shop, and Bob had taken his mother down to get her hair done. I was paying for mine, and he was paying for his mother's. And he said to me, he said, "Would you be willing to go out and have lunch with me sometime or dinner?" And I said, "Sure." And so he said, "Well, where should we go?" And I said, "I'll meet you at the Legion in Frewsburg." I didn't want Jeanette to know because I thought she'd be upset, So I went to the Legion and met him. But, you can't get away with things like that. My best friend was there with his daughter.
Stop.
And of course, he's one that spreads news like everything. So, of course, my date with Bob was not a secret any longer. And Jeanette had a hard time accepting that. She thought I was being unfaithful to my first husband. And I tried to explain to her that once you're married, there's a camaraderie that sticks with you. And Bob was lonely. I was lonely. We have been friends. We went to church together and things here to the Wilsey Church. We had been to youth group together. That's when we were in youth group together.
Oh my gosh. In youth group as children, not youth group leaders.
Yeah.
Wow.
My sister wanted a picture with him. And I said, "No, I want my picture with him."
I love that. That's so cute.
And so I made my sister let me have a picture with him.
What is your sister's name?
Bernice Wilsey.
So you go by Mollie.
I have a younger brother, and he couldn't say Mary Alice, so he called me Mollie Ollie. So it got down to Mollie. Thank heavens.
You have some photos and things over here. Was there anything in particular that you wanted to talk about?
There's a picture in here.
Let me get it for you because your nails are wet.
Okay. There's a picture in there of the 4 L's.
Oh, the 4 L's.
Yeah, here's Joyce.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, I rubbed my fig.
That's all right. I'll fix it. Where is she? Oh, here she is in this one.
Yeah.
That's great. How fun. What were you like as a teenager?
Well, I never rode a bike. My folks weren't able to give me a bike at the age that I needed one. So my teenage years, I was a farmer girl.
Do you have any hidden talents?
Well, I like to crochet. We have a ladies' aid at Wilsey, and we have a sale every October. I make scrubbies.
What are
I
scrubbies?
make dish towels. I've got some here that I'm going to show you.
And what does the sale benefit?
It benefits the church. We give to Samaritan's Purse. We give to Salvation Army. We give to our youth group. We have several things that we give to. Our sale is coming up now, the 14th and 15th of October. It'll be up here at the Wilsey Community Church.
So everybody in the area, come to the Wilsey Community Church, October 14th and 15th, to buy Mollie's crochet items?
Oh, there's other things too. We have rugs, we have baked goods, puzzles, baby things that have been crocheted and knitted.
It seems like you stay really busy.
Yeah.
I know you had a big day already today.
Yes.
Do you still drive?
Yes, but I'm very careful. I only go to Warren, and I try to go when it's not busy during the middle of the day.
Do you remember getting your driver's license?
Yes, I do. My mother and I both went at the same time. And of course, being kid fashion, I wasn't very nice to my mother. I should have let my mother go first, but I didn't. I wanted my license, and so I went first. And my mother went second. And of course, our car wasn't very good. And when my mother went to turn around, something happened to the gears and of the car. And so the cop got really angry with my mother and said, "You shouldn't have tried to get your license. It's obvious you don't know how to drive yet." So he said, "Let me get in and drive this thing back." He got in and he couldn't drive it either. Something happened. The gears went out of somehow. And my mother never did get her driver's license. That's too bad. I feel bad that I was such a snip of a kid, not letting my mother go first, But
Wow. The way things work out sometimes.
yeah.
If you could go back and tell your teenage self something, what would you want to say to your younger self?
Be more considerate of people. Yeah. But you just don't have that when you're a teenager.
What's this we have here? Oh, is this a yearbook?
That's my yearbook.
What high school did you graduate from again, please? I know you told
Russell.
me. Russell.
But there we are.
Oh, with everybody's signatures.
There were only 12 of us.
Who was your best friend?
Probably, I don't know. I guess him. We were real close.
Can I read his inscription?
Uh-huh.
To a good little wife and classmate.
We had a senior play together, and I was his wife.
From a swell friend.
Yeah.
Good luck. Charles Williams.
Yeah.
And then here's you.
Yeah.
Okay, it says, Mary Alice, a pleasure seeker, willing to learn, a mixture of seriousness and fun, has a sweet disposition, a real friend. That's nice.
Yeah.
Do you think that still describes you?
Yes, I think so. I try to be friends with everyone.
It says a pleasure seeker. What do you like to do for fun?
Travel. My second marriage, we traveled an awful lot.
So what's this?
I worked at Warren County School District. When they formed the Warren County School District into one division, I put the payroll together. And I didn't have a computer, so I had to get the payroll for all of everybody. And I felt so bad I missed one person, and that was the librarian at Beatty. And of course, my daughter is a librarian, and she said, "How could you forget a librarian, Mother?"
The irony of it.
So,
What was your favorite trip that you went on?
on my second marriage, when Bob and I were first married, he had never flown in a plane, and I had a trip ready to go to Europe. So I said to him, "Do you want to go with me?" And he said, "Sure." So his first trip in an airplane, he went all the way to Austria. We toured Austria and Germany and Switzerland. It was a very fun time.
Would you like a nail sticker?
Oh, okay.
Or we can leave it plain without it.
That's all right. It'd be all right to put a sticker on.
Okay.
Since I don't do my nails very often.
What are you looking forward to?
Going home. Looking forward to seeing all my relatives and friends in heaven that I miss.
What is it like to live past 90?
If you have your health, it's wonderful. The only thing I hate is when I have to call on somebody to do something for me. I wish I could take care of it myself, I've always been a person that could do things myself. And now when I'm kind of handicapped, I feel bad when I have to ask somebody to do something for me.
What do you want young people to know about getting older?
Be considerate of other people who may be worse off than you.
We're coming to the end of our manicure. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Have you ever been on a horning bee?
I don't know what that is.
When I was young and getting married, we had horning bees on couples. We'd go to the house and wake them up and take them out for a ride. They came and done a horning bee on us on my first marriage. And at that time, I'd put my hair up in pin curls. So they took me up to Jamestown, and I worked at Loblaw's on 3rd Street. And on the way up, they kept taking out my pins. And, of course, my hair wasn't dry yet. And, of course, it would come down. They left me in front of the store and drove off and said, "We want you to not be late for work in the morning." I was scared stiff. Finally, they come back and pick me up. But we'd done horning bees on other couples. We took a padlock with a bell. And back then, they had springs in the bed, you know. We put this lock and this bell on this bed. So every time you moved in the bed, the bell rang. And I think this guy worked on that for a month before he got that off. I called him one night and I said to Joyce, "What's Spike doing?" She said, "He's under the bed trying to find out the combination to that." So and I said, "Oh, that's too bad." And she said, "Yeah, I bet you feel bad about it, you know." But they went around and done horning bees on young couples.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Until you're the couple.
Until you're the couple.
So that was the treatment that you got for the horning bee.
Yeah.
What happened to your husband during his horning bee?
Oh, yeah. Put burrs in his shoes, yeah.
What are burrs?
Oh,
like prickly things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In all his shoes. So when he put his feet in his shoes, oh, man, that I would not have been happy about that one.
Yeah. So I think that's all. I think you know my life's history.
This was really nice getting to know you. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Mm-hmm. I bet you this is the second time I've had my nails done.
Oh, wow.
In 94 years.
Oh, I hope you like it.
I do.
Before I leave Mollie's house today, I have to try one of these delicious cookies that she baked this morning. So I'm gonna have one now. It's a white chocolate macadamia nut cookie.
Yeah. Good.
Delicious. This is so good. It's really good.
Thank you for listening to Manny's with Grannies. I hope you enjoyed learning about someone else, and maybe even learned a little about yourself.